Hello everybody, JT Bear here today. We're coming from the shed in a box that I put up last fall because today is a project day. There really isn't a lot going on in the garden. The plants have gotten marginally bigger and, you know, the same with the aquaponics. So, it's a garden project Thursday. Most of you have probably seen some variation of the... That's not good for the camera. Alright, so I hope there's not too many spots on the screen right now. Apparently I'm going to have to clean my camera after that. I got some condensation inside the shed in a box. It just rained on my lens. Anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah, a lot of you have probably seen various gardeners here on YouTube experimenting with air pruning containers. There's a lot of people using like those reusable, what do they call them, polypropylene? I don't know. Those reusable bags you can get at like Walmart and Safeway and all those various places. There's a lot of people drilling holes into solid containers, and there's a lot of people basically making bags or pots, if you will, out of landscaping fabric. What I'm going to do to initially test the theory is the same thing I do to basically initially test any theory, and I'm going to make one out of a Folgers can, because that's just how I grow, baby. Oh yeah. I'm going to go clean the lens and we'll get back to this. Is that better? That looks better. I won't really know until we edit this. Alright, well, back to the shed in a box. So yeah, I like most things. I'm going to try it with a coffee can because I've got a million of them. I drink a lot of coffee, and Folgers is quite often on sale around here. So tools for this project are pretty simple. I've got my hole saw. I'm going to start with the bigger one and then just kind of use smaller ones as I find places for them. I'm going to use the front half of this Folgers can because the piece of scrap window screen that I've got, it's not going to do the inside of the whole thing, but it will do the front, which kind of works as a bonus because what this is going to do is that when I pull the plant out of this come the fall, if I remember that's the plan, we'll be able to see on the back half just what happens where there aren't the holes for the air pruning, and compare it in the dirt to what happens in the front where there are the holes on the same plant. I've seen a lot of comparisons with different plants, but it will be very interesting to see in a single root ball both effects. So that'll be fun. I'm going to start punching some holes in this, I think. Alright, so I'm probably going to turn the sound down just a little bit when I get to editing this, but for now, let me show you what I'm going to do with this hole saw. I only go in just enough to make the guide hole going forward on the drill. Once I've got a good position, I'm going to do it backwards, and that prevents a lot of torque when these little teeth bite into the plastic. I learned this the hard way. I felt like I almost broke my wrist. It was terrible. Alright, nice clean cut through there. Should be able to get quite a few holes that size. I'll bring you guys back when I start working on the next piece. Alright, well that was educational. The first thing I learned on this, these cans get really weak once you start drilling a few holes into them. So I'm not going to be downsizing and using the smaller hole saw like I had initially planned. The second thing I learned, well, I gave you some really solid advice when I said to do it backwards with the hole saw. I didn't take my own advice. I tried to make this nice and quick because it's raining on me in my shed and it's cold and it's nasty and I wanted to go inside where it's warm and I've got nice bright lights and pepper plants. I didn't, so I did this forward, and I ended up spending the next 20 minutes or so cleaning it off, and it still looks pretty bad. But you know what? This isn't a beauty contest. This is an air pruning pot experiment, because no matter how many times I see it on YouTube, until I see it in my own garden, I don't necessarily know that it works. I'm a little old-fashioned that way. I did get an interesting inspiration out of this though. Got a whole lot of these little circular pucks now with that hole right in the middle, and seems to me when it comes time to build my little PVC hand pump, a few of these might come in really handy. Just find the right size pipe and I got a good plunger almost. Maybe cut a little piece of rubber to go around that. I'll have to remember that. Anyway, so this is where we're at with the container now. All that's really left with this is to put in my screening material, and then, you know, some sort of dirt. I'm not going to plant in this just yet because it is January and this is Canada, and I'm not putting this in the house. I've taken up enough room with seedlings, and I still plan to take up more. So this will just be prepped and ready to go for soil come the spring. Anyway, next step. Alright, so this is just a little bit too tall here, and I forgot to bring out some scissors. I'm just going to lay this on my surface here and cut it to where I need it. Good enough for a test. Alright, I had to get a little creative to make that work because I am using scrap screening here. But I've got all those holes covered now. So I'm just going to fill this with some compost I've got here in the shed in a box, and we'll see just how much soil gets through this window screening. I'm thinking a little bit will, but probably not enough to make it problematic. I'm hoping to use window screening, if this works, for a much larger sort of air pruning tote. Because let's face it, I love my peppers. So I want them to grow big and huge, and if this works, then it's a plan. Alright, I'm going to get some soil. Let's give this a test fill. So I'm getting some fine material coming through there. But this is some pretty dry soil. For the most part, though, it really does look like it's going to stay in place behind that window screening. I find that very encouraging. Actually, here's another bonus for you. Doing only the front means I've got a handle for this. So there you go. Let's look on the board here. We can see, there is a fair bit. This is probably more hand spill than anything else. Here we can definitely see what came out through the window screening. So I wouldn't recommend filling one of these indoors, but that does look like essentially it will work. Now when it comes to the totes, I have a brand new roll of this stuff, but I wasn't about to cut this open for a folgers can. Especially not when I've got a piece that I can, sort of make fit just by cutting it up a little bit. Like I say, it's not going to win any beauty contests, but I'm not a beauty contest kind of guy. I'm a test it, see if it works kind of gardener, and for that, that'll do. I've had some success growing various plants in these folgers cans in the past, and I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see, say, one of those little burpy yellow peppers do exceptionally well in this, if the theory of air pruning containers is correct. Now, there are a lot of gardeners that I follow who firmly believe in this. I mean, it doesn't take many of Rob Bob's videos to notice 1 or 3 of these kicking around his property. I think he's got a papaya in one. Pawpaw, I believe is what he calls it. High Desert Garden just made some of these for some of his indoor trees, I believe. Brock is using the cloth versions of these. If you don't know who any of these channels are, I'll try and put links in the doobly-doo, but you probably do. If you watch me, you probably know who these guys are. So yeah, I'm really excited to give this a try. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried air pruning containers, had success, failure, anything along those lines, and I'll bring you guys back for the next project video when I turn a tote into one of these things, because I might combine that with some basic wicking tote setups, because like in the summer, I've said this before, in the summer around here we have huge water restrictions, and yes, it's Canada, yes, it's cold in the wintertime, but that fact disappears come summer. This place is hot and dry, and living between 2 lakes don't make a difference. My plants dry out instantly. The whole town is built on sand, so can't really do a lot in the soil. My gnome garden is pushing it, but I've got a lot of heavy material in the bottom to try and catch any moisture that's going to go through there from watering. Like, we put newspapers and cardboard and all kinds of stuff. I think there's phone books down there. Basically anything that would retain the water, and the worms might, take up residence in. So I'm trying what I can on these horrible soil conditions to grow anything for my family, and I'm pretty happy with the results. So, like I said, if you've tried these before, let me know in the comments below how it went for you. If you've got any suggestions on plants that do well, plants that don't do well in these systems, this would be really handy to know too before I plant anything out. I guess that's it for this one. I am going to say have yourselves a fantastic, it's Thursday for me, but whatever day for you, and thanks as always for checking in, guys. It's been wonderful to have a quick visit with you. I will see you next week on this channel. Otherwise, I'm everywhere on the other channels all week long, so feel free to look around. Have a great day, folks.